Okay, very good. Thanks so much for joining me. This has been a very, very crazy adventure for me. I wanted to, just really thank you guys. And I'm so happy to share with you a project that I've been working on for months and months and months. And it's been crazy. And I've been thinking about which places would be the best to show this work. And this is the best place. This is a place that's very close to my heart. I love CCC so much. I've been coming to events for a very, very long time. So Well, anyway, let me start and introduce myself. My name is Scott Beibin. I live in the Untied Snakes, and I'm an inventor, an artist, activist, silly person, maker of things. I do way too many things, like a lot of you guys here, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. I wanted to start by also saying that I'm now officially an analog astronaut. What in the world is an analog astronaut, you might ask? Well, there are all these training facilities that are all over the world where people are, I guess, training for settlement in space eventually. Usually at these training centers, you'll have scientists, astronauts, engineers, students, and other types of enthusiasts or space enthusiasts show up. And there's this one place that has been, it's been around for 20 years. It's in the high desert in Utah, and it's called the Mars Desert Research Station. And so I was lucky enough, as well as my partner Liz Cole, who's around here somewhere, we were called by our friend Roger to, here we go. That's Roger on the right. We're called by our friend Roger, who used to be the communications director at SpaceX, to see if we wanted to be part of a 2-week immersive astronaut training. And he couldn't even get through the sentence before we said, absolutely yes. He's like, but it's during Thanksgiving. I'm like, no, we can do it. And so we jumped on this opportunity because we'd been going to different facilities. Like we went to High Seas in Hawaii, which is another Mars simulation facility. We tried to go there and at least check the place out, and we somehow were able to get in touch with the program director, and they said absolutely not. And there was this whole thing, like it wasn't just about us being there, it was also that there was a live volcano right next to it. It was in Mauna Loa, like actually on the volcano. So we were like, phooey, drats, foiled again. And we just waited and waited and kept on contacting different people and going to space conferences and all that other good stuff. And eventually we got this call from Roger, who was very, very nice and neighborly about inviting us to be part of this. Now, one of the reasons why I'm particularly interested in space, speaking as an environmental activist of sorts, so one uses technologies as a way of solving a lot of the environmental problems that we have and thinking about the overlap of respect for individual freedom while solving these problems. I thought to myself, wow, well, if we're trying to solve for these problems by going to some of the most difficult places in nature, we could probably do a lot better than just trying to solve for the problems here on Earth. Mars is an incredibly hostile atmosphere. You might know that the temperatures are incredibly cold there. And they get sort of warm, but it's freezing cold. The soils are filled with perchlorates. there's incredible solar radiation, so traveling from Earth to Mars is going to be very, very difficult without frying the people that are kind of in the ships. I mean, all different types of problems. But if we can solve for these problems while we're trying to settle space, we can solve for a lot of the same types of problems on Earth, especially ones oriented around life support and growing food in tightly contained spaces, using ingenuity in order to do things like growing spirulina in space so that we can have nutritious food, growing plants, all these different types of problems we can solve for. Because if we are actually facing a terrible environmental crisis where we're going to have drought, where we're going to have extreme temperatures, a lot of food production is going to have to move indoors. It might have to move underground. And we're really going to have to use our ingenuity very quickly to solve for these problems. Anyway, so that brings us to here. Oops. Yes. I guess they're out of thing. Oh. My slides are out of order. Sorry, hold on a second. Oops. Okay, this is very, very strange. Okay, anyway, here, this brings us to telepathique. Okay, so telepathique is a music project that I do focusing on psychoacoustics, archaeoacoustics, ambisonics, infrasound and ultrasound, synthesis of all different types, using sensor triggers, and all other kinds of fun stuff. Like I do a lot of stuff with brain-computer interface and electromyelography, and I use open source programs in between, like Pure Data, to get things to, like, get impulses to make other things do other things. So I have a lot of fun with that. And so I usually travel around with my old school synthesizer here. This is a synthesizer from maybe 20 years ago called a Novation Ultranova. And I really love this thing, even though it's big and clunky. But the reason why I love it is that it's easy to repair. It does break a lot, but I like the fact that I can unscrew the back and resolder everything, and everything's in one place rather than a glued down board. And I think many of you guys can relate to that kind of joy of fixing things. Anyway, here it is, the clunker. Oh wait, let me stop that. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so the telepathique project, it fits into the realm of another art project I do called Groucho Fractal, which is a bicycle-powered stage performance where audience members use brain-computer interface to make 3D printed organic vegan snacks on a bike-powered 3D food printer that I created. Yes, feature creep as a feature. Yeah. So, so it's within the context of that, and I have a few other projects that are kind of within that container as well. There's one called Mandelbot Ecotech, which is a scalable, eco-friendly, three-dimensional plotter that's open source, and you can change the dimensions on it. You can print with food, use it as a lab tool, use it as a plastruder, all different types of things. And then there's another project called Ancient Scan, which somehow ties into telepathique as well, where I do three-dimensional scanning of archaeology sites, and I also do ambisonic recording and all that other fun stuff. Okay, so here we go. Anyway. Yes, here's the Mars Desert Research Station. Okay, so here's back to Roger Gilbertson. Okay, sorry, I messed up all the order of everything, but that's okay. Anyway, here we are, Mars Society. So at this facility, there's a really strong emphasis on both science and research. And there are opportunities for mission crews to explore the area of the base during EVAs, or extravehicular activities. It's basically a fancy term for going outside in a spacesuit, or a simulation suit. And let's see. And while we're going on EVAs, we're simulating the difficulty of carrying life support systems on our backs. And while we're there, we're also encouraged to eat the foods that astronauts would eat on missions. And Liz and I brought our own supply of vegan, nutritionally dense superfoods to share with the crew. We ended up being the only people really eating them because everyone was like, what is this stuff? So anyway, there was enough, we brought enough for everyone to eat and stay in a good mood. One of the things about the station while we were there is that we were given a very small supply of water. So that's 550 gallons or 2,081 liters. And that was supposed to last the entire 2-week mission for 6 people, which would include drinking, cooking, showers, washing up, using water to reconstitute clay, things like that. Okay, cool. So yeah, for my mission, I chose to focus on 3 different things over the course of this 2-week-long immersion. One was LiDAR scanning of the base and the surrounding geology while on an EVA. 2 was 3D printing of useful objects for the base using the clay gathered during the EVAs on the Mandelbrot Surfa 2. And finally, composing a telepathique set of original music to be played during an EVA that would simulate the acoustic properties of Mars. So the idea of having an opportunity to play music as if it was on Mars during a Mars simulation that sounded like it would be played on Mars sounded pretty amazing. So I wanted to figure out how to actually do it. So the first step was to look at the research that had been done in terms of understanding the acoustic properties of Mars. And they were published in this paper you can see, Nature. And what we learned is that the acoustic impedance of the Martian atmosphere results in about 20 decibels weaker sounds on Mars than on Earth if produced by the same source. So that means that the sound is lower. That should be negative 20 decibels. But anyway, the acoustic attenuation range on Mars was discovered to be roughly between 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So that's, I guess, in the normal hearing range. But what was very interesting is that the drop-off started around 240 hertz and then attenuated down to around 5 kilohertz. So what that really meant is that the only sounds that were really audible were ones that were more so in the bass frequency. And so a lot of the higher sounds that we normally hear are gone. You know, we can't really hear it. And this is because we're in a, well, there on Mars, we're in a mostly carbon dioxide atmosphere. So it's like 97%. Some readings have said 95%. So I've just decided to stick 97% there. And also the atmosphere is lower in terms of air pressure than on Earth. So it's roughly 170 times less dense of an atmosphere on Mars than on Earth. And we also have, also one of the other interesting anomalies is that sound travels at 240 meters per second until it reaches this kind of attenuation range of like 240 to 5 kilohertz, and then the higher pitched sounds start increasing in speed, which is an interesting feature. And the way that it was discovered is that we were listening to the sounds of lasers zapping rocks, and we're also listening to the motors on the Ingenuity copter. So I'm going to go into how we listen to sound and all this other stuff in a moment. Anyway, I wanted to figure out how to do this. So I searched for some Git repos of open source audio filters that could be used And I wound up finding this thing, where I was actually shown this thing by two different friends. One was my friend John Carr, who works at Jet Propulsion Laboratories, and Ugo Salguier, who's the filmmaker, who's my crewmate and friend. So this is a project called Astronaut by Jen Cutler and Stefana Fertila. And they made these open source VSTs based upon the different atmospheres of the 8 planets, or 9 if you're old school. Anyway, there are actually 8 planets here. So anyway, now, was I just going to accept a bunch of VSTs that were found on a Git repo? Yes, no. No, I was not going to be a script kiddie with this. I was going to figure this out. So I wanted to do this the difficult way because I wanted to learn something. And I just wanted to encourage everyone here to do things the difficult way. The easy way is often to copy what other people have done, which can be great sometimes because it just works. However, if the goal is to learn something, it's really important to try to do the heavy lifting and the research and to give it one's best try and not be afraid to epically fail. Because in epic failure, there are sometimes unexpected discoveries and a better understanding, and most importantly, internalized lessons. And most of the time, the best laughs. Also, it's really important to talk to multiple sensei friends, so master friends who spend a decent amount of their time in their lives becoming experts in their fields in order to think about how to approach problems. And so this is a reminder to avoid being too proud or too shy or afraid to ask others who've already done the hard work and deep research and put their hearts into becoming experts in their field, to ask them questions. And one thing also is that I just want to remind you that a true master of their craft shares their knowledge freely. Okay, so anyway, so decision was made. Was I going to take the difficult route and learn something, or the easy route? I chose the difficult route. Okay, so zipping over to reverb. Now, reverb is what happens when a sound persists after an original sound has been produced. Sound is reflected off of multiple surfaces, and sound reflections then build up and reach one's ears after the additional sound was emitted. So the echo that we're hearing in the room, that's an example of reverb. And in my work that I do with Ancient Scan and a few other things, is I try to recreate reverbs that are in different spaces. And the way that I do this is by using impulse responses. So I'll clap, and I'll record that clap. Or I'll do a sine sweep, which is where you take a low frequency, go all the way to a high frequency, and you record that, and you can place microphones around the room in order to see the response. It's always important to let it run out, by the way, when you're doing convolution reverbs. Okay, so yeah. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to skip through some of this. Okay. Oops. So anyway, this is the wizard, John Knott. Mad respect for this absolute wizard. See, it says wizard. So he's taught me a tremendous amount in terms of audio engineering over the years, and we decided to attack this problem head on and create our own reverb filter, our own EQ for Mars based upon the data that was found in the document that I showed a little bit earlier. So here we go. And we also went to the Mars website. Now they have this, NASA has this Mars website where you can record sound, and then it goes through a similar kind of EQ filter where it will attenuate the sound so you can just hear how muffled it is. So if you want to check that out, you can do that. But what we did first is we ran an EQ. We ran an EQ against that, and then compared the sounds and ran them over each other. And then the next thing that we did was compare it to what was in the Data, here we go, using EQ. Okay, so we double checked our work. Go back, okay. Anyway, would you guys like to hear what Mars sounds like? Yeah. Okay, let me escape out of this, oops. Okay, oof. Here we go, this is fancy Ableton Live, okay. So let's find Earth dry. Okay, so, by the way, I do have a concert coming up on Friday. I can't remember the time, but come afterwards and I'll show you. Okay, here, work. Is this not working now? Both of these. Oops. I'll explain what's going on in a second. Let me just make sure this is working. Why is this not playing? Okay, anyway, for some reason, this is being weird. So this is kind of what the sound would sound like. When it's attenuated. That's just the sound direct from here. I'm going to play you a comparison of some 30-second videos so you can hear this. Let me get over here. How much time do we have? Okay. And I'll be doing the full comparison set on Friday. Here we go. Okay, here we go, cool. Okay, this is... Okay, so this is what it would sound like on in the Earth atmosphere. Let me move this work. Okay, now let's open up Mars. Okay. Well, that is, that is what the sound of Mars sounds like. And I just wanted to thank, I want to thank you guys again for coming. Hold on, let me put this over here, play this. Okay. Fiddlesticks. Okay, I just have to do a very quick outro and thank you. Okay, I wanted to thank all these people for helping me to do this. John Knott, John Carr, Jet Propulsion Laboratories, Carl Golombeski, Anthony Bissett, Masha Mitkova, Chris Alaska Rose, Robin Leapman, aka Blumerian, Mike Taylor, Jim Green, Ed Bell Bruno, Carl Kiefer, Adolf Alexander, Jason Suarez, Jake Clark, and the Mars Desert Research Station 286 crew, Liz Cole, Roger Gilbertson, Hugo Salguier, Guillaume Gago, Sergei Lakimov, Ben Stanley, Donald Jacques, Shannon Rupert, Michael Stiltz, James Burke, Robert Zubrin, the Mars Society, and of course I wanted to thank my dad who just passed away a few months ago, my mom Janice, my brother Jeff, and my sister Lisa, and my brother-in-law Jonathan for being so supportive through all this. This has been a crazy adventure over the past few months, and I'm very proud to have shared the results of this kind of work that's driven me kind of insane. So I wanted to thank you all for coming, and do you guys have any questions? Thanks.
Thank you for the talk.
Thank you. Oh wait, I almost forgot. This is actually my flight suit.
Much better than mine.
Thanks. Cool. Okay. Yes. Any questions?
Yeah. Let's see. So the mics are 2, 1, 3, and 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's go with 1.
Pick them. Yeah. Yes. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
So apparently the concert is at 5 on Friday.
Thank you.
In the lounge. Checked the schedule. Looking forward to it. What's the lighty poo?
Oh, lichty poo? That's really fun. That's just, so I name all of my devices. I have just names that I put stickers on, so when I'm asking my friends to grab a device for me, so I'll just create like weird names. I highly recommend people do this. For example, this is Zipple Whipple. This is my power supply, and also Flibberty Gibbet. I have a bunch of other really stupid names. Any other questions?
On 3? Let's see.
You expected a good answer. Cool.
Hi. Thank you so much for your talk. I wanted to ask, this touches you only tangentially, but what effect does this have, like, on voices, like as well, vocals and singing, as well as like regular communication?
That's an absolutely fantastic and important question. So the effect that it has is that it attenuates the higher sounds. So it would be really hard to hear somebody screaming. So for example, if you were losing the pressure in your suit and you're dying and you're screaming, it would be very hard to hear you. Or if there were alarms for a vehicle moving forward or backwards, it'd be hard to hear high-pitched sounds. So we're going to have to figure out what to use in terms of the sound range. We'll probably have to use bass frequencies, and also bass frequencies that aren't going to blow people's ears out. But these are important things. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Yes.
Hey there. Thank you for the presentation. So I think about a year ago there was some study released. I forget who released it, maybe NASA or JPL. The study included a sample audio of what sound could sound like on the surface of Mars.
Yes.
So Just to clarify, like the way that you're playing the music, is that something, are you simulating how it would sound like if you played it literally on the surface of Mars? Because
Yes.
that sample, I recall, was just a lot of, like you mentioned, bass. It was just like a lot of, I don't know, like bouncing bass, right? It's just the ambient sound on Mars. So if you were to take that instrument and play it on the surface of Mars, would it sound just like that?
Exactly. It would sound just like that. So what we did was we used the comparison that was found from the sound of a laser zapping a rock and the whoosh of the whoosh and the motor. And you take that comparison and you do a convolution reverb on that, so you can create those comparisons and see that. So yeah, that is according to the document that NASA published in journal Nature that references that. This is how it would sound. So we used the reference of that website that you were talking about, and then we checked it against their own document. So we double or checked our work.
On 4?
Yeah.
This is hi.
Yes.
Maybe more of a thought experiment, but
Yes.
how would different instruments and like the way that they produce sound affect the sound that happens in the end? Like now you have a digital recording and then you're editing that, but if different. If it's a flute or if it's a guitar or something, like the way that the sound is produced, would that also change depending on the different atmospheres? How would that like sound?
That's a great question. The higher frequencies would move faster, but you wouldn't really hear them. The lower frequency, the lower the sound on the frequency range, you would hear that better. So for a flute, you would, like if you had a bass flute, you'd more likely hear the sounds than an alto flute. If you had a tuba, you'd probably hear that pretty well. However, if you're playing bells, you probably wouldn't hear that so well, depending on the frequency. Yeah. Okay.
All right, mic 3.
Any other questions?
Hi.
Yes.
I found it very interesting that speed of sound is different for different frequencies. So is this because of the different pressure, or is more the composition of the atmosphere which has this effect?
It's more of a feature of carbon dioxide.
Oh.
Like when you play audio into carbon dioxide, like if you have a chamber, you can predict that the sound will move more quickly, and that was tested in the atmosphere. One thing that was interesting, though, that they discovered is that sound traveled further than they anticipated it would. So they could hear that. That was. I don't remember what the exact figures are, but it's in there. It's in the paper.
Oh, okay.
Mic 1.
Hi.
Hi.
I would like to hear about your assumptions regarding a speaker on Earth while having our atmosphere. The speaker is moving some molecules of air,
Yes.
and the speaker on Mars should be somewhat different.
If you mean a speaker should be designed differently, or that would behave differently?
That's the question.
That's okay. So it would be the same. So it's the same speaker, like how it would sound, because what we're really listening to is how sound travels. So basically, you have electricity going into a coil, and then it's causing a diaphragm to vibrate, and from that point on, how the composition is of that atmosphere will determine how that sound travels. So you could have the same exact speaker and the same distance between the listener and the source, but it would sound different because of the composition, because of the pressure, and also the temperature difference, which is around the range is around negative 250 Fahrenheit to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah.
I can take only one last question, and it will be on 4. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
4. You.
Okay.
Hello. First of all, let me start with a thank you for mentioning all the people involved to this project. That was really charming. My question might be a bit of an antithetical one, because I was wondering, you flashed a slide that showed a group of people. Might I ask, who are those people?
The group of people?
Yeah.
Oh, the group of, I could show that again. So that group of people was from SIGINT. I was trying to get that on the screen. So in 2009, that was my first CCC event that I presented at. I presented a thing called Scientists Are the New Rock Stars, and it was the very beginning of when I started delving into presenting science art in the world, and like this kind of like contestational media art. So they gave me the platform to be able to do this presentation in Köln. And the reason why I showed that is that I came full circle. So some of the people in there is Johannes Grenzfurthner of Monochrome, and there's Nick Farr, and Astra Schneeweiss, and who else? I'm trying to remember. I guess I'm in that. But there was just this funny moment at the very end of the conference where Nick was laying on the ground and everyone was jumping over him, and it was just this ridiculous, silly moment. And I spent a couple of hours trying to find that photo in my archives, and I literally just found that photo a few hours ago. And I was like, oh, I finally found it. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, that's lovely.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you on Friday.